Hi, and welcome to this shortish excursus about Meeting C++ 2024, and especially today about the schedule which we released. More on that in a second, but first let's just quickly talk about the conference. This year, again, in Berlin and online, like the previous years, we are hybrid. 14th to 16th November, so we are exactly in the midst of November. We have this year 4 keynotes, not 3. This is actually a big exception from things, and this will only be this year. The keynotes this year kind of have the theme of choosing people that have been or are active in the committee, with Titus Winners, Hanna Duzikova, Herb Sutter, and Peter Sommerlath. And so generally the conference is going to happen in a few weeks or months, like October and September are still in front of us, and then some days in November are going to be very busy in front of the conference. So let's take a look at the schedule and the program which actually has been released, which is here. First, a quick thanks to my sponsors: Conan, ThinkCell, Undo, Bloomberg, Andreas Fertig, and KDAB are currently our sponsors, and I'm looking for more sponsors now that the program is released. Thank you for your sponsorships. Helps a lot with the conference this year. And then there's the community sponsors. I'm not going to read them all, but there's a lot of active community and user groups. If you have a user group and want to be listed there, talk to me. And let's take a look at the conference itself. So we start on the first day, and the welcome message, that's something you have to experience on the first day. Then we see the opening keynote. For this year, it was kind of difficult at first to choose a keynote speaker for the opening keynote, because I wanted someone who actually has some history with the committee, etc. And while thinking about that criteria, often Titus Winners came to my mind. He recently has been switching from Google to Adobe, and he had a very interesting role at Google, doing a lot of work for and with C++, but also in the management and kind of in the higher echelons, and has written an interesting book about these things, and his vision about software and building software. And also in that role has had his fair share of contact with people that have been in the committee, either he himself or people from Google that were in the committee. And so I think that his keynote will greatly give us a vision of where his ideas for software development stand. He has told me that he's actually right now still busy in finding this topic he wants to speak about. He has, but he needs some time to write it down, and he has been just too busy in August, which is fine. Most keynotes, that's directly what I want to say, that most keynotes at Meeting C++ are often just a title, and there's very, very few keynote speakers which actually give me a long description, and then often the description is not really representing the keynote. So I think that's just fair if you, as a keynote speaker, do not feel that you need to have like an extended description of your keynote. That's fine. Just have a few words about your ideas, and that's good enough. But of course, if you want to write a long text about your keynote, that's fine too. So here we see the start of the program. We have 4 tracks, and 3 of them are in Berlin. The red track is the main track, and that is the track I spoke the last time about, the top voted talks. And the best voted talk is the one by Andreas Weiss, C++ modules getting started today. And the landscape for modules has changed in the last year with more tools, CMake, for example, and compilers supporting modules. So let's take a look at that in a minute. But first, parallel to him, we have a talk about effective this, where David Zalewski speaks about this pointer and object things in a practical way. So that's probably also a very good talk. And then you have the hard choice if you want to know about performance engineering, being friendly to your hardware, by Nas Bagdonas. Again, it's like the whole program is hard choices. The online track will not be streamed to Berlin. So if you're attending on site, then you probably choose between the first 3 talks. And if you're online, you also can attend the track D online track, which is starting with an introduction to Vulkan and C++ by Michael Cha. That's also like a very interesting topic. I think I'll talk about the online track in a minute. But now let's see the top voted talk by Andreas. So Andreas, starts here with modules have been one of the most highly anticipated features for C++ 20, which is an understatement. And unfortunately, and I think that's correct, it was also the language feature that took the longest to become widely available for developers to use, which is true. And I'm not going to read this all, but basically, we do have now the first generation of compilers which support modules. We have CMake, which has module support. And so it's basically not only for early adopters anymore. And so starting the conference program after the first keynote with a great talk on modules is a good way to have what is one of our biggest topics, I think, in the time with C++ is modules still be just kicked off with the conference program. That's great. Then we see that we have a talk with templates and C++ 20, which still is a very popular standard from Roth Michaels. And then we have a talk about popular bugs and code smells. And Greg Law speaks about debugging on Linux with multi-threaded code. That's including race conditions. Interesting talk. And Gabriel Valenzuela has been part of my Meeting C++ online community for a while. He speaks about his experience with transforming the classroom and teaching C and modern C++. That's also a talk I'm looking forward to. And then, the next slot is also, again, it's like you want to listen to the execution model, or do you want to know about floating point calculations? And we have a talk about sender-receiver framework, which I've just learned is the only talk about coroutines on the conference, which I'm not sure about, but seems to be, of course, something with sender-receiver. And coroutines, we'll see. And then we have a talk about actually writing VS Code extensions for fun and profit, which is also something which actually I'm interested in to see, which is like great attribution. Again, we have a talk by Klaus Egelberger in the program this year, first time in the first day, closing now, basically. Track A with Klaus Egelberger, there's no silver bullet. Then we have in track B, classes for C++ 23, which I think is an interesting topic. And then we have a committee member, which is the first time also at Meeting C++ with Nevin Lieber. He speaks about the variants of std variant. So again, 3 talks where it will be hard to choose where to go. And also there's a talk which is a bit of an outlier, Python async IO and C++ for terminal graphics. I do think we should have some talks which are not heavy on C++ and also offer things like VS Code extensions or doing things with Python and C++ and combining that also is an interesting topic to learn about. And also the schedule gives you this timetable, which is listed here, which is just a convenience to just, have a text-based overview of what is when. And also this is easy, text to copy and to put in things. And then the second day starts. Good morning, meeting C++. I will be talking a bit about stuff which is important to the conference, and then kicking off the first keynote on this day, which is the center keynote by Hannah. She's been giving great talks, so I'm looking forward to that keynote. The first two keynotes is the keynotes which I currently cannot say a lot about, which is fine, and often like that stays until the conference is there. Again, I choose keynote speakers, not topics. So I trust them totally with being ready on that day with their keynote. And then again, it gets hard, right? Do you want to learn about pipeline architectures in C++? Sure, you want to do. There's a talk about applied modern C++. We have a talk about testable by design, and design is always popular in testing. Don't have to say anything about that. The online track also offers a talk by Jonathan O'Connor, mimicking SQL API design choices, which again, design angle and things. And Jonathan has so much experience and has given great talks in the past, so this will be something which will be on the online track, making life a little bit harder for people watching online, right? And then we go into track A for the next time with concepts. Or do you want to go to reflections, or do you want to see actually, this is a keynote from another conference, two keynotes we actually have from other conferences, which are normal talks at my conference. This is the first one by Kate Gregory, the aging programmer. And we all age, so this is like for everyone. But you'll have to decide where you want to go. Also, what is a static function but isn't a static function is an interesting talk, which is in the online track. And then the online track has free slots, which actually gives me a good option to talk about the online track right now. I have some speakers already telling me that they want to do, so maybe your talk isn't listed here at the moment. That's fine. I'm currently still doing the selections. I'm talking to some other speakers which might, want to give a talk, or which I would like to have be giving the talk online. That's an option to them. And that is basically what the online track at the moment is. I think when the online track is completely filled, which will be like within the next weeks, I'll be, posting on that directly, more on that. One thing I want to mention is the pre-recording for the online track. All those talks will be pre-recorded in October, which we did for the first time last year. And such is then that these pre-recording events are live, and you will be able to attend them and see the pre-recording of the talk live. So these get a audience twice, once as a recording at the conference and the pre-recording in October. And for some speakers, that will be that we take multiple times to record, because the first time was just not perfect. They want to change their slides, and often the first pre-recording session can turn out to be not good in the quality of the microphone, camera, etc. Other things they want to change. And we have all of October for that, to basically do the practice runs and do the actual recording. And most of that will be live. Some stuff of that will be in practice and private, just how things work out, And then we continue with dependency injection security in C++, which I really like that we have a talk about that. I think really important. And Jana Mahutova gave a great talk last year, and she's giving a talk again about parallel programming. If you haven't seen her talk on YouTube, you might want to see her talk from last year. And there I see Jonathan Müller, who returns to the conference with a talk about an incomplete guide to C++ object lifetimes. Another great topic, but maybe you want to know about growing pains, lessons from seeing code bases mature. Or there we have a very interesting talk about the Beeman project, which is a new community thing, Boost inspired libraries to the next level by David Senkel. Also a committee member which comes to the conference for the first time. And finally, people can stop asking me when Herb Sutter is coming to give a keynote this year. And yes, this is a special slot. This is not the normal keynote slots we have, but let's stick with that. I chose this 8 o'clock slot with Herb because he's coming to the conference, but probably still has a bit of jet lag, and I want to have his keynote be in a time which is good for his inner clock. And having him keynote at 10 a.m. in the morning would be like 1 o'clock in the night. The closing keynote starts at 4 o'clock. That would be kind of doable, but I want people, if we can arrange it, and we could arrange it that way, I want people to be able to see the keynote and still have like a day maybe to interact with Herb and to speak about with other people about the keynote. So that's why he's there. And he chose to give the keynote, which he's already doing at CPPCon, Peering Forward, C++ Next Decade, Herb's vision about the next decade with C++, which is interesting. And so he picked out a few things here: compile time reflection, memory safety, simplifying C++. And at the moment, I do not know if Herb is giving the same keynote at CPPCon and just does a practice run at CPPCon and then gives us the better improved keynote, or if he's doing the strategy to have 2 keynotes with a similar description and title, and then just doing different things to be able to cover more things he'd like to talk about. I think there's a unique opportunity for Herb, and we'll see what he's doing there. Definitely will be a great way and a great opportunity to have him at the conference, because I didn't mention that yet, but I should. There's a committee meeting in the next week after the conference in Poland, and a lot of committee members travel through Berlin to Wrocław in Poland to be at the committee meeting and to also be at Meeting C++. So this is a unique chance to meet the committee in this year at the conference. So very much looking forward to see Herb and all the other committee members at the conference. And then we continue on the next day. Early in the morning, we start the program just with normal talks. Clean code, mastering memory management in C++, or Clean CMake for C++ developers. Your choice. And then we have the next set of 3 talks. Fast and Small, Andreas Fertig speaking about when efficiency matters. Core Guidelines, or Swarm Intelligent Ergos by Francis. And Arne Merz I think this is all well-known speakers here closing the conference. Then with the last slot 4 talks, which are in parallel. You can get to know contracts for C++ with Timo Dumler, which is also a very great thing to be rounded off. There's a program. Symmetry in Code Should Be Care by Victor Sura, which also has been giving a lot of talks. And here we have the second keynote at the end of the conference. Daniela Engert speaking about translations and translation APIs, as far as I remember. And then we are at the last day, and I will be giving you a 90-minute update on what Meeting C++ has been doing and what's updates for the C++ community and things, user groups, etc. And also probably some lightning talks, which we do not have a different slot for at this year's conference. And then Peter Sommerlath will close out the conference with the closing keynote. And he already has given like a description, and kind of he wants to speak about his experience and how, every generation makes the same mistakes and how we might, be better in learning and trying not to go falling into the snake oil traps. How he's, writing here. But also maybe we are cursed of collective amnesia and forgetting what the elders discovered and next generation seniors discover over and over again. I think Peter has been for a long time in the committee, but also he has been teaching C++ as a professor. But he's now retired. So again, I think he can just talk about his experience, share things which are important to him, and speak about software development in general, as far as I understand this here. And so I'm looking forward to this keynote. And that then is closing the conference on Saturday. Let me go back to the conference page. That's basically the whole conference as it is of currently. Still some talks left for the online track. And then tickets are available, of course. And if you're a student or if you need support tickets because you cannot afford or like your employer is not sending you, then you can go for this option. I do look for sponsors, but that's just a different topic. And with that, just thank you for listening. And this also has been live streamed at LinkedIn. I'll be looking now in the chat and see if we have any questions. And there's a question about the what is the ticket cost for the online conferences? Right now, 199 euros, which includes all fees and tax. So if you're like outside of Germany and things, you get this without the tax, which is 167 if you do it right. And yeah, so mostly those tickets are bought by employers. So this is not like something which the community needs to spend. But so if you have a training budget, that's something to think about if you want to spend some part of your training budget for having an online ticket, which enables you to see all talks and keynotes live streamed from the conference. The online track is also there, and then also enables you to watch the talks after the conference before they are on YouTube. And it's a great way to support me in my work with Meeting C++. I have the goal to make this accessible to everyone, and the talks will be on YouTube. People can, go for an online ticket if the employer is able to support that, because the employer basically is, the one who should have an interest in updating your C++ knowledge and profiting from your better code after it. So do not hesitate to ask your employer to send you, even to Berlin if that's feasible to you. I know that not everybody can, just travel to Berlin. So that's why I definitely want to make the conference available online.